there's just so much ignorance around the issue of abortion. And I think that's what really motivates me, is because so many people are in the dark about this issue.
Hi folks, and welcome to Humans of the Pro-Life Movement, an initiative of the Pro-Life Guys podcast where we explore the lives of the incredible men and women who are making sacrifices for the weakest and most vulnerable members of the human family. We are talking to people who are the unsung heroes of the pro-life movement and learning a little bit about them, their story, and what they have to say to you to help get you involved in the pro-life movement. And today, I am joined by a good friend of mine, Sebastian. Sebastian, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Cameron. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So the first thing that we love to ask, Sebastian, is we love to ask a little bit about who you are. Tell us a little bit about who Sebastian is, not only in the pro-life movement, but outside of the pro-life movement as well.
Yeah, of course. Well, uh, the area that I'm from is kind of a small town area. Glengarry is called. So I've lived a few different places out there, but yeah, I've got a family out there, a mother, father, and three brothers, and some two nephews, and another one on the way from my brother Nick. So looking forward. I'm planning on going back there very soon, and looking forward to seeing them. And yeah, and first and foremost, I'm a child of God, and faith is definitely a huge part of my life. And I would say I've returned to my Catholic faith through the pro-life movement, meeting other Catholics that are involved in the pro-life movement, and yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Sebastian. And so let's dive into this role in the pro-life movement. Tell me a little bit about how a guy growing up in Glengarry, Ontario, becomes a very, very active, I would honestly go so far as to say the most active volunteer that we have had at CCBR for the last 5 years at the very least. How does that happen? Tell us a little bit about your journey into the pro-life movement.
Yeah, well, it all started thanks providentially to a friend of mine, Jonathan Gilman, and yeah, he saw me out in my lonesomeness out in Ottawa, and he invited me to this Hanukkah party that his family did, and that was very interesting. And yeah, he basically just invited me to come to the Florida Gap, and that was really life changing. When he invited me, I had no idea it was about abortion. It was basically the way he put it was, do you want to come to Florida and come save babies? And I'm. It's interesting that it was put that way, because I don't know if I would have went if he just asked me, "Do you want to come and be involved in abortion activism?" Anti-abortion activism. So uh, yeah, just going from there, I'm glad it was put that way, and that led me to get to meet some of the most inspiring people and really loving people, and people that I find are putting their faith into practice by advocating for the preborn. So yeah, that's what led me to the pro-life movement.
Very cool. And from there, you go on, you do the CCBR's internship in the summer of 2016. And since then, you moved to Calgary
That's right.
to do a tremendous amount of activism. And I've always been so appreciative of how much of a priority pro-life outreach has been for you. I know that you've made decisions even about your career, about choosing jobs that allow you to do activism as often as possible. I've always appreciated that. And I'm curious, from the last kind of 5 or so years of doing pro-life outreach and being involved in the pro-life movement, are there, whether they be memories or maybe a thought on the community, share a little bit about your time in the pro-life movement over the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, like you said, I've been involved volunteering, and that's basically how I've been involved, whether it be door knocking, which is probably one of my, aside from the Florida Gap, which is on campus. I love being on campuses. Um, but yeah, door knocking, choice chains, just even putting out flyers and talking to people. Really, I enjoyed talking to people and trying to challenge their views and see where they're at and what they know and what they think. And yeah, sometimes it can be daunting, or you really don't want to go out there. There's oftentimes I didn't want to go out and do activism, and I haven't always prioritized it as much as I think I should have. Um, I think it's probably, if not the biggest pressing issue in Canada. I mean, we're losing, you guys, we repeat this all the time, right? But 300 lives are being lost on average every day. And so being involved in a capacity where it is still making a difference, and seeing people's lives change through simple conversation is what keeps me motivated. It's having people's reactions of, oh, they didn't know that 300 abortions could be had, or so many people just don't even know that you can do a sex selective abortion if you chose to, or you could abort a child because it has Down syndrome, or you can. There's just so much ignorance around the issue of abortion, and I think that's what really motivates me, is because so many people are in the dark about this issue. And I know that I was, and I'm thankful for the people that reached out to me, and so I'm not always that person, but by the grace of God, hopefully more and more so. So yeah.
Hey man, that's fantastic. And the last question I want to throw to you, that I think that you have a very, very good aptitude for as well. You have been one of our best recruiters of volunteers over the last 5 years, inviting friends and roommates and all sorts of people to join us for pro-life outreach. If somebody is watching this video and they haven't gotten involved in the pro-life movement yet, and they're kind of teetering on the edge, what would you say to them to kind of nudge them over the edge and get them actively involved in the pro-life movement? What would you say to them?
Well, don't. I'll quote John Paul II. Don't be afraid. Our opponents love to try to scare us, and I don't think we need to be afraid. I mean, we're there. Sometimes, yes, it can still be scary, and I'll admit I'll be scared sometimes, depending on who I'm confronting. But we don't need to be, and there's a great need for it, and lives are literally on the line, and you can make a difference. Your involvement, regardless of how little it may seem to you, can have huge impacts. And it's not I honestly believe it's not until after this life that we can get to see the fruits of our labor. And that's the joy of doing this work, is that it's a reward that is later on, and it's not for now. So keep heart, keep going at it, and that's that.
That is a great note to make, that whether you're joining for activism 3 times a week or once a month or a couple times a year, whatever it may be, your involvement can and Lord willing will change minds, save lives, and help us transform our culture. Sebastian, thank you so much for not only joining me today, but for all of your involvement, all of your encouragement and your passion for preborn children. This has been another episode of Humans of the Pro-Life Movement. I encourage you to check out other episodes to learn more about the people who make up this wonderful, diverse movement. Want to encourage you as well to check out the other series is put on by the Pro-Life Guys podcast. Check out our main podcast, which is published every Tuesday. You can find it on all your favorite podcast catchers, as well as our website, prolifeguys.com. Also check out our monthly roundup of all of the abortion-related news from around the world, spoken to from a pro-life worldview. And please, please, please consider getting involved. Like Sebastian said, do not be afraid. The good Lord goes with you. And regardless of whether you're Christian or not Christian, there will be a lot of support and a lot of training to help you have mind-changing and life-saving conversations. Thanks so much, and have a good rest of your day wherever you're at.